Podcast New York.
What's up, Dueling Decades? This is Wax. Peace to all you guys, and thanks for having me on the show. Will it be the 90s or the 80s? Beanie Babies or Crack Babies? Will it be Nirvana or Madonna? Maybe Britney, maybe Whitney. Do you like new metal or new wave? Dave Grohl or Super Dave? I don't know. But now the battle begins. Dueling Decades. Let's see who wins.
Dueling Decades. Broadcasting live from the Podcast New York studios, it's another all-new Dueling Decades, the adult-only retro game show where the decades battle for supremacy because it's your history. We just fight for it. I am Marc James, and this week we have for another week experience battle where all of our competitors' picks must fall within one calendar week. I will be representing May 24th through the 30th of 1998. Now, let's meet the other duelers and the decades they will be fighting for. First off, going back to the 80s, he's a man who will never go whack on an old school track. Say hello to Mancrush.
What's up, everybody? That's right. I have May 22nd through the 28th of 1988, and thank you to everybody who hung in there. We apologize for any blips. This is only our fourth live. We don't know what we're doing.
Also joining us on the panel and taking a magic carpet ride to the 70s, it's the incomparable Mike Ranger.
Hello, everyone, and be prepared to slap on your leisure suit as I cover May 21st through 27th of 1978.
And as always here on the show, we need somebody to adjudicate all of this awesomeness. So this week's guest judge is an author who also happens to be the founding member, frontman, and guitarist from the band Less Than Jake. And now you can check out his new solo single, Never Surrender. All rise for Judge Chris DeMakes.
Hello. That was an amazing intro. You really talked me up.
Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest will be held under Dueling Decades rules. The judges' coin flip shall decide who picks first out of the 5 Dueling Decades categories: movies, television, music, news, and hot products. A judge's ruling will determine who wins each round, allowing the victor to choose the next available category. The first 3 rounds are worth 1 point each, with rounds 4 and 5 worth 2 points apiece. And in the event that we go to a tie after all 5 rounds, we will go to a final wild card round. Remember, duelers, to review the show, listen, subscribe, and play along at home. It's time for more Dueling Decades. All right, let's throw it right down to our guest judge for this episode, Chris DeMakes, for the coin toss, which will be between Mike Ranger and Mancrush this week.
All right. So who's calling heads? Who's calling tails? How are we doing this? Just going to flip?
Mike Ranger, why don't you call it this week?
I think I'm going to go heads.
Going to go heads. Here we go. It is heads.
Ooh, and
All
Chris,
right,
what did you flip there?
I flipped a Less Than Jake weed grinder.
Yeah.
I didn't have a coin in my pocket, but this was in my studio. So.
Now he's got Keef all over his desk. It's great. All right, Mike Ranger, you won the coin toss. You take control of the board, and you get to select our first category.
Well, once again, I never expect to win, and I'm never prepared for it. But I think we're going to go with TV. All right, gentlemen, what I have here is something so 70s, more 70s than ABBA, Leif Garrett, and Charo combined. I found an article in the Daily News from May 26, 1978, titled Osmond's Dish Up Pizzazz. The original Osmond brothers, a foursome who preceded Donnie and Marie, returned to television that night in the Osmond Brothers special, featuring guests like Bob Hope, the Dallas Cowgirls, and comedian Jimmy Walker. The Osmond Brothers special has lots of pizzazz. The flavor is youth, well-scrubbed, clean living, but still enjoying life to the fullest. Tune in tonight at 8 p.m. on the ABC to see Alan, Wayne, Merrill, and Jay in the Osmond Brothers special. Now, that's a night of TV.
Lots of smoking.
Lots of, yeah.
Lots of cigarettes.
Yeah. You know, a lot of red meat, a lot of cigarettes.
All right, Mancrush, what did you bring for the television round?
All right, so let's go to May 22nd of 1988. And this one, it's pretty cool for me because it's not often, but occasionally you get a TV selection that you actually remember watching. And I grew up a huge fan of this as a little kid. And out of all the memories that I still remember, when I lived in our house in the Bronx, I moved when I was like 4. I still remember watching this show in our living room. It's insane. The only 3 memories that I have from that house are watching this show on our white television in the living room, dropping a Tonka truck on my toes in the kitchen, and watching my cousin cry like a baby when they cut down a tree in the backyard. So this is really special for me right here. The original series that I'm talking about, it actually ended in 1982. So this is the first time it had been back on the boob tube in 6 years. Everyone was excited to see this thing. Originally, this show was broadcast on CBS, but this time around, NBC got the honor of airing this bad boy. This NBC Sunday night movie pulled in mega ratings. It was a 20.2, and it had 17.9 million homes tuning in to watch this. So absolutely smashing everything on television in 1988. Not only was everybody excited to see Bill Bixby and Lou Ferrigno back in their original roles as David Banner and the Hulk, but everyone was fired up to see the debut of Thor, sharing the screen with the Hulk for the first time ever. You know, and like, this doesn't seem like a big deal in 2021 where Marvel is just putting out massive juggernauts one after the other. But in 1988, these were like lean Marvel years. The studio rights, they were owned by New World Pictures. So obviously it's a bit goofy to watch now, but in 1988, this was the shit to watch this on television. This Thor debut was actually supposed to catapult him into his own TV series. Unfortunately, that never came to fruition. And as fun as the Incredible Hulk Returns was, I watched it the other night. It's a fucking downer, man. Like, Banner, he's just ready to start a new life and get married, cure himself from turning into the Hulk. And then there's like all these series of events and there's bad guys and all this shit. And he has to destroy this gamma spoiler. He has to destroy this gamma transponder that he made to cure himself. And then he has to leave his fiance at the end. So it's like such a downer for being one of like the cooler characters in the whole Marvel universe. Hulk really has like this depressing existence. And if you go back and watch the old stuff, it's not like the new stuff. It is really a downer. But this is the premiere of The Incredible Hulk Returns, May 22nd, 1988.
All right, guys. So my television selection is the final episode of a series that was a spin-off of Home Improvement. Now, despite ranking 29th in the rankings, its second and final season, it unfortunately came to an end on May 26, 1998, after 2 seasons and only 25 episodes. I give you the end of Soul Man. No, not the C. Thomas Howell joint. Soul Man. It was a gentle comedy about a lifelong, hard-working, leather jacket wearing, motorcycle riding, widowed Episcopal minister played by Dan Aykroyd. He was raising 4 kids out in Detroit, Michigan, and hilarity ensues when this bad boy minister now has to be a role model to 4 out-of-control children while dealing with the crazy antics of his equally out-of-control parish members. The theme song for Soul Man was, of course, Soul Man, written by Isaac Hayes and David Porter. It won some awards and has a long legacy with Dan Aykroyd because famously he sang Soul Man with his band, the Blues Brothers. So how does this all tie into Home Improvement? Dan Aykroyd was actually on an episode of Home Improvement when Al was hired to put in a new stand for the Holy Water Basin. It was in a season 7 episode entitled Losing My Religion. That doesn't go so well when Tim gets involved and the basin falls through the floor. But in the final episode of Soul Man, Mike's romantic date with Christine is interrupted when an all-female Karen share group drops by to confront him about his betrayal. So, of course, we are ending on some sort of conflict resolution, the way all good Christian shows should. It's the final episode of Soul Man with Dan Aykroyd. I'm pretty sure you've never seen it because apparently not many people have.
How many episodes does that last?
25.
Man, I never even heard of that.
Not many people have. So let's throw it down to our guest judge for this episode, Chris DeMakes, for his ruling on the television round.
All right. So, for me, this is a toss-up between the 70s and the 80s, which I lived through both of those. I'm going to have to go with the 80s here.
Were you a big Hulk fan?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why. I did watch the original Donnie Marie and the Osmonds show back in the day. Yes, I'm old enough to remember that airing. But, I was a big Hulk fan. I can't think of anybody else, maybe barring an MMA fighter and a boxer, they got their ass kicked every week. Bill Bixby, he's got his ass handed to him every week, And I remember that Thor episode. It was terrible. Like you said, he was supposed to have his own spinoff, and next thing you know, he was cleaning the toilets at NBC. This never happened. So I got to go.
That dude had a long career. Like I looked it up after this. He was, my daughter is 15 now, and she watched this show called Good Luck Charlie that was on, I think it was on Nickelodeon, and he was the dad for like 4 seasons. So this dude had like a long resume, and I was like, he had no hair as he got older, so you couldn't even identify if that was him or not. But yeah, it's fun.
I never heard of the TV show Soul Man. In all fairness, though, prior to social media and cell phones and gadgets, I was trapped in a van during 1998 with my band. So there's a good reason why I missed those 25 episodes. So I'm going with the 80s.
And that's why you didn't say that you lived through the 90s?
Well, I did. Physically, I was present.
All right, Mancrush, you pick up our very first point. You take control of the board and get to select our next category. Where are we going, man?
Let's go. I'm going to do the same thing. I think this happened last week. Let's go movies in the middle here. Let's go round 2 movies. All right, so let's go May 25th of 1988. I had a hard time choosing this one. Like, do I go with one of my favorite cult classics, or do I go with the best stick fighter of 1988? And for game purposes, I went with the stick fighter, and I'll hold on to the other one perhaps for the wild card round if I need it. Not only does one man dominate the Thailand underground stick fighting scene, but he has arguably the best feathered mullet of 1988. So how can I pass this one up? I own this on DVD, so for once I didn't have to go and pay to rent it, and it was just as enjoyable last night as it was when my mother went to take me this one when I was 10 years old. Last week I brought you a Cold War hangover movie, and this week I bring you something where we're still in the Cold War because it's 1988. What else are we gonna have movies about? At the box office, this one, it brought in $189 million at the gate. That's roughly $427 million in 2021. That one's for you, Dave Schultz. So not too shabby there. The main actor of this one, he would walk away with some hardware. He would win his 3rd Golden Raspberry Award in a 5-year span. He actually had the opportunity to win in 86 and 87, but he lost out to Prince and Bill Cosby. But if you weren't aware, the Golden Raspberry Award is the highest individual honor that you can get from the Razzie Awards for Worst Actor. And this dude, he must have been like banging someone's sister at the Razzies because none of these are warranted. Like none of the awards that he got. How can you give a Razzie to a dude that got a $12 million jet as part of his pay for this movie? Like this had like a $63 million budget and they gave him a $12 million jet on top of what he already got paid. So it's pretty remarkable. So if you're in the mood for like horseback games involving dead sheep, unsanctioned stick fighting, sausage parties, indestructible mullets, rippling muscles, mujahideen fighters, gunships, exploding arrows, stinging one-liners, foot-long survival blades, and the 80s version of Lawrence of Arabia, then go out and get yourself a copy of the Sylvester Stallone classic, Rambo 3. And speaking of sweet mullets, Chris, I checked out your new solo track, Never Surrender.
Yes.
Earlier today. I totally dig the picture, bro.
That picture was from 1988.
Oh, sweet.
What a coincidence.
Yeah, it really is.
And I did see Rambo 3 in the theaters.
Nice. So did I. I was 10. My mom, like, I remember she gave me no fight. It was like, oh, we're gonna go to the movies. I want to see Rambo 3. Okay. I think she slept. Which usually happens.
All right, Mike Ranger, what did you bring for the movies round?
Oh, Mike, you don't have to wait.
Oh, all right. Well, there we
I was
go.
like, what are you doing?
Give me a break. I'm fucking high. All right. So in 1968, Jeannie C. Riley released the hit country song Harper Valley PTA. The record went on to sell 6 million copies and made Riley the first woman to top both the Billboard Hot 100 and the U.S. Hot Country singles with the same song, though not exactly at the same time. The feat was later repeated in 1981 with 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton. The song tells the story of Miss Johnson, a Harper Valley widowed wife whose daughter comes home with a note from the PTA scolding her for her unfit ways, and Miss Johnson gives them a piece of her mind. 10 years later, on May 23rd, 1978, the comedic film of the same name was released into 6 theaters in the Midwest. The film grossed $2 million during its opening weekend, and over the summer of 1978 was primarily shown in drive-in theaters. Featuring characters from the hit song, the film tells a slightly expanded story. I Dream of Jeannie's own Barbara Eden stars as Stella Johnson, and according to IMDb, Woody Harrelson makes his uncredited film debut. Tagline for the film was, "The song was scandalous, the movie is hilarious." The film has a cult fan base of fans of the original song, and in 1981, NBC made Harper Valley PTA into a sitcom that aired for 2 seasons and 30 episodes. And what was nice about this one is I actually had a copy.
Oh, you brought props.
Wow. All right, guys. So for my movie selection, it was released on May 29th, 1998. It was a movie that made just over $6 million off a $30 million budget. Now, if we look at the back of the VHS box of this one, it reads, "It was a time of heroes." Well, almost. Oh, they were hardy men in those days. Men who, like Bartholomew Hunt and Leslie Edwards, made sure that when adventure called, they got the wrong number. Chris Farley and Matthew Perry teamed with director Christopher Guest to venture into uncharted comedy territory in the Frontier Fun Fest, Almost Heroes, where explorers Lewis and Clark go, Farley and Perry follow, hoping to overtake the famed expeditioners. So I don't know if you guys have ever seen this movie. It's Almost Heroes. This was the absolute final lead role for the late, great Chris Farley. Now, the movie itself, it's not so great, but hey, what are you going to do? Filming completed in the fall of 1996 with a release for 1997. However, the film was actually delayed a year because of the pending merger between Turner and Time Warner. And by the time the film was finally released, Chris Farley had already passed away nearly 6 months before. So it kind of left a sour taste in the mouth of all the fans who wanted to go see the film, because the film is such a downer. It really can't decide if it wants to be Tommy Boy, Robin Hood Men in Tights, or Spinal Tap Goes West. The biggest problem overall for me is the script. It just recycles jokes. They ripped off jokes from Tommy Boy and Billy Madison, including a sketch where they even visit a whorehouse full of scarecrow sex dolls. So if you're into stuff like that, check out Almost Heroes, May 29th, 1998. It's the final lead role for the late, great Chris Farley.
I love when you shit all over your picks. I don't have to do it.
Hey, I'm just honest with them.
I actually like that movie.
I rewatched it again today, and I hadn't seen it since 1998. And I know why I hadn't rewatched it yet.
It's not that bad.
It's not horrible, but when you look at the cast, Eugene Levy, Chris Farley, Christopher Guest directing, Matthew Perry, there's a lot of comic genius there. It just doesn't come together. All right, so let's throw it down to Chris DeMakes for his verdict on the movies round.
This is a tough one because I'm surprised that Stallone didn't get typecast in a sense, because he was always kind of the same character, whether it was Rocky or Rambo. It was, you know, you got the Italian guy with the bravado. I liked his movies though. Did not like Rambo 3. Never knew there was a Harper Valley PTA movie. I remember the TV show, which was awful. I didn't like it. And Almost Heroes, I never saw that movie, but I've heard reviews, and you know, for an all-star cast, I kind of have to agree. It probably should have been a better movie, because all those actors on their own are amazing, but they came together and the sum of the parts didn't add up to, you know, $30 million budget, only grossing $6 million is pretty bad. But I got to give the nod to 1998 just for Chris Farley alone. Probably top 3 favorite comedians for me. The guy just kills me. He was absolutely hilarious, and so I'm going for 98.
Were you a big fan of Rhinestone?
Can't say I was.
I think that was the one that he got out of that typecast. I think he had those films with Cannon during that stretch. You know, you had Over the Top and Cobra, and then of course then he goes and does this one for Coralco. He does Rambo 3, and then he was supposed to do another series after that, but I guess they shit all over the script, and then he was kind of like gone for a couple of years. So I think you're right in a sense.
And who could forget Stop Mom or I'll Shoot? Is that what it was
that's
called?
what I'm saying. Like they were like, he had like a bunch of like kind of, I mean, Tango and Cash was great. That was 89.
Yeah.
But they weren't like huge hits. So I think you're kind of spot on there until like what, Demolition Man, Mike? Is that like his next big thing?
Probably Cliffhanger.
Or Cliffhanger, yeah. Was that 92?
Somewhere around there,
yeah. So I can't fault you for that one.
All right, guys. Well, I picked up a point, tie up this game, and I get to select our next category. Let's go to the hot products round. So for my hot product, we're going to go over to the Indianapolis News, May 29th, 1998, for an article I read where the headline reads, South Park Video puts its loyal fans in a frenzy. Those screams you hear this week in your local video store won't be coming from happy parents who found discontinued, previously viewed copies of Flubber to take home to the kids. The rejoicing will come from South Park fans when they spot the brightly colored box sets of the new Comedy Central show's first video release. 3 volumes containing 2 episodes each, rated TVMA, selling for $14.95 apiece. 6 episodes include the pilot, Cartman Gets an Anal Probe, as well as The Volcano, An Elephant Makes Love to a Pig, Death, Weight Gain 4000, and Big Gay Al's Big Gay Boat Ride. As the creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone explain in bonus material fireside chats before each program which one of these episodes were their favorite. So it's kind of cool. You get some backstage thoughts of the creators early on in this series' life. So before long, the article goes on. It says the show becomes strangely addictive and has a quality that those little round heads. Before long, there's a strangely addictive quality to those little round heads and those scratchy voices. Watching a marathon with no commercial interruption proves to be the show is more than just a schlockathon of sophomoric humor, or at least it makes it a little bit more palatable. For those who have already clued into South Park's appeal, the video set will come in handy only for those who are the dopest among them who can't figure out how to program their own VCRs. So that's how they conclude this article. But yeah, it's the release of the original South Park box set. This was very hard to get a hold of. It went out of print. It's still out of print. It wouldn't be until early, I think like 2000 or in the mid 2000s where they finally released them again on DVD. But for $14.95 each, you get the first 6 episodes of South Park, May 29th, 1998.
It's a hell of a lot cheaper than the $90 VHS tape you bought last week.
Yeah. Imagine having to buy $89.95 for 2 episodes.
I have.
All right, Mancrush, what did you bring for the hot products round?
All right, so let's go to May 24th of 1988. So before the Baby Bells merged in 1996, and of course I'm talking about phone companies here, every Bell had their own little product line. And being from New York, we got to experience all that 9X had to offer at the time. So back in January, we talked about 976 numbers with Scott Schiaffo. Remember when he was on and he told us how he would get all banged up and then spend like copious amounts of cash talking to like phone sex girls? But here's another 9X product that was launched in 1988 rather. And this was still around during my high school years. And I'm not sure how much of this I divulged on this show before. I know I touched on it when we did Poop Culture. And side note here, Chris, we had an amazing punk intro done by the Mongrels back then. It's fucking fantastic. Anyhow, back in the day, I was allegedly, I'm going to use allegedly for this since I don't know if we're live or not, but I was part of this internet group, and you can laugh at me if you want, but we were the shit. And I won't go too much into the stuff that we did, but we had one hell of a prank division in this group. And we were inspired at the time. Of course, we had the Jerky Boys and 2 Bar and the Mustasha tapes. So we recorded dozens of calls, right? So one of the bits that we used to do, and keep in mind, I was in like 9th or 10th grade when we did this. So obviously we were total assholes at the time. So somebody would set up a conference call and a dozen of us or so, we would jump on there. Then this one dude that was in the group, he would use his computer to connect to TDD. If you're not familiar with TDD, it was telecommunications for the deaf. And that one dude that I'm talking about, he was legally deaf. So he would like log into this thing and it was this whole console and he could type or whatever. The whole thing's pretty simple. You would connect to it with a modem and the operator on the other side, she would call whoever you wanted and read verbatim whatever it was that you typed in to say. So listen, the people who worked for TDD, they were amazing. They would say anything. They would never laugh. They would never hang up. They would never get mad. They just did their job. We actually had one operator who told us that hardly anyone used the service. So she didn't care. So anyway, so now here's my hot product. So the service that 9X had at the time, it was called group calling. All right. So for the mere price of 20 cents for the first minute, which is 45 cents in 2021 and 10 cents each additional minute, which is 23 cents in 2021, you can connect to a like random group of people and talk. They call these group calls, right? So there were hundreds of these groups. You would dial 550 and then each group had 4 digits associated with it. So somewhere along the way, someone found a list of hundreds of these groups. And one of these groups was called Ladies Night or something like that. I can't remember the exact name, but it was something familiar. It was just like that. And since this cost money to dial, we would have the TDD operator call our conference call, and then somebody would three-way the conference or three-way our conference to Ladies Night, whatever that number might be. And then everyone was on mute except for the TDD operator. Another bonus of this too is the operator, when she called into the conference, she had to say like, "Hi, I'm the TDD operator, blah, blah, blah," give this whole like disclaimer. So nobody ever heard that because she was calling into the conference first, right? So now think about this. The group that we were calling was called Ladies Night. There was never a single female on these calls. It was all dudes. So the moment they would hear a female, these guys would just start freaking the fuck out. They would be like, "Hey, what's up?" Like just talking, trying like hitting on her. So we never had these operators do anything nasty, but one night we had this fucking awesome operator. So our friend, I'm not going to give his name, but he asked her if she could sing in a low voice, and he gave her the lyrics to a song. And he's like, "Anytime a guy speaks to you, I want you to sing this song." And she was like, "Sure." I mean, that was her job, you know? So she went, "Do your balls hang low? Do they wobble to and fro? Can you tie them in a knot? Can you tie them in a bow? Can you throw them over your shoulder like a continental soldier? Do your balls hang low?" I give you group calling by 9X. This is what we did when we were in 10th grade. But yeah, it was a good time.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And I remember specifically because he asked her to sing it in a low voice, and she did. She was a fucking trooper.
Wow. Where do you sign up for a job like that?
I don't even know if they have it anymore.
Probably not. I don't know. We'll have to find out.
It's probably an app now.
That'd be a good episode. All right, Mike Ranger, what did you bring for the hot products round?
Well, on May 26, 1978, Resorts International opened Atlantic City's first legal casino with crowds of people lined up all around the boardwalk. In an effort to revitalize the city, New Jersey voters in 1976 approved casino gambling in Atlantic City. Resorts International became the first legal casino in the eastern United States. Soon other casinos would open on the boardwalk, though many critics argue that the gambling did not eliminate many of the city's problems, some which believe it actually made some of the city's issues worse. Though one of the most popular tourist destinations in the United States has not gained the same popularity as Las Vegas as a gambling city. Resorts International Hotel opened its doors at 10 a.m. on May 26, 1978. Originally only able to operate for 18 hours on a weekday and 20 hours on the weekend, led to massive lines as people waited for hours to get inside. So Resorts International Casino, Atlantic City.
That was the first one down there?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? I don't know why I assumed.
It was way before.
Yeah.
I think it's because all the movies we watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Makes it seem like it was around like during Goodfellas.
Yeah.
All right, let's toss it down to Judge Chris DeMakes for his ruling on the hot products round.
I kind of want to go for Atlantic City because Less Than Jake's playing there in a couple weeks. We're playing the Atlantic City Beer Festival on June 5th. I want to go for it. I'm just not a gambler. I find casinos just to be, I don't know. I'd rather attend an open casket funeral than hang out in a casino. Just bums me out. But South Park's cool. Certainly, what a crazy cutting edge cartoon that thing was, and just pushing the boundaries. But I got to go with 9X, and I'll tell you why. I actually used the service. I remember using it with friends. This was the precursor to group text and Zoom phone calls. Poor man Zoom. Those 976 numbers, they just so happen to be on all the programs that 15 and 16-year-old kids with raging hormones would be watching on Saturday night, Saturday Night Live and all these, I remember watching Headbangers Ball on MTV and that would come on, called 976, whatever. And inevitably we'd be at some friend's house and we would, I remember my one friend, Eric, I think his parents got like a $500 phone bill for us calling 976 numbers. So I'm going with 9X.
Yes.
All right, Mancrush, you pick up another point heading into our first 2-point round. You have control of the board. We have the news round left and the music round. Where are we going?
Let's go music. All right, so let's go May 24th of 1988. And this is pretty crazy because sometimes when you're making these picks, you realize things about your own life. And I don't want to get all like melodramatic here, but thinking back on this one, this was like a pretty big deal for me when it comes to music. Since this is late May of 1988, my sister was graduating high school in a few weeks and she moved out of the house shortly after that. But with her being 8 years older than me at this point, she was basically where I got all of my music from up until this point, So that was a heavy helping of like Pat Benatar, Led Zeppelin, Heart, Pink Floyd, this band right here, hair bands. Matter of fact, I remember her buying this album because I did what I did with most of her albums. I dubbed it right onto cassette. But honestly, this is big because after this, I started to develop my own musical taste after she moved. I hear a lot of people say like, they got it from their parents growing up. But my dad's foreign and he was listening to fucking like polka and shit. I'm not even kidding. Like he really was. And my mom was listening to like Frankie Valli and Elvis. So if that's the case, I mean, it's no wonder that I'm a little bit like all over the place. However, I think this is like my sister laid the groundwork, but this happens to be the last album that she bestowed upon me right before she moved out because she purchased this. And then a couple months later, she was gone. Anyway, this is the 8th studio album. It's the 3rd album under a new vocalist. The album itself, it would go 4 times platinum. It hit #1 on the Billboard 200, featured 3 hit singles. So obviously we're talking about a big album here by a big band. And I mentioned that part about my sister because I think this, like, I enjoyed this album and I enjoyed their previous album with the new singer because my sister was playing it right in the room next to me. And in spite of all that, all these years, I believed that I was a Sammy guy. And after this past week, I listen to every album top to bottom, and I'm definitely a David Lee Roth guy. Like, no question. And it's not to say like I don't enjoy Sammy, but that's my sister's musical taste, not mine. I mean, like, I give you Van Halen's OU812 with this pick. And like, here's the other funny thing about this one. Depending on what you believe here, the album's either named like Sammy supposedly saw OU812 scribbled on the side of a van, or was this retaliation for David Lee Roth's solo effort, Eat 'Em and Smile? I mean, it's like things to ponder at night here. But anyhow, like, I give you Van Halen's OU812 and DLR, man. I've switched after all these years. My sister forced upon me Sammy, which is not bad. It's just, I think I prefer the other side.
Yeah, OU812 is a fantastic album, though. But yeah, I hear you. That early Dave, there's just a live, fun energy there that's just so infectious.
Oh, for sure.
All right, Mike Ranger, what did you bring for the music round?
Well, Mark, on May 26, 1978, David Gilmour of Pink Floyd released his self-titled debut album on Columbia and Harvest Records. In the UK, it was the American release followed in June of the same year. The album would reach number 17 in the UK and later number 29 on the US Billboard album charts. A mix of blues guitar songs produced by Gilmour, recorded between February and March 1978, produced one single titled "There's No Way Out of Here." The song was considered a flop in Europe, but found a following in the United States. The album has an interesting promotion. A 5-song promotional film was made, as well as Gilmour promoting the album with his first ever interviews with North American media. The album would peak at number 26 in America and was certified gold. Gilmour is quoted as saying, "The album was important to me in terms of self-respect. I didn't think my name was enough to carry it." David Gilmour's first solo album, and it sounds like a Pink Floyd album. Go figure.
Why?
Haven't the foggiest.
All right, guys. So for my musical selection, I actually have the soundtrack from a major motion picture. This one was released May 26, 1998, a few weeks ahead of the film, which was released on June 12th. Now, the songs on this soundtrack have a close to combined 1 billion plays on Spotify. I give you Can't Hardly Wait, the music from the major motion picture. Released May 26, 1998. You know, the title of the movie itself is a reference to the song Can't Hardly Wait by The Replacements, which is included on the soundtrack. The movie and the soundtrack also features the Blink-182 song Damn It. And then while watching the movie, Blink-182 lead singer Mark Hoppus was also inspired to write the song Going Away to College. So there's kind of a double tie-in with the music and the movie. The soundtrack peaked at number 25 on the Billboard 200 chart. And the Kenosha News gave the soundtrack 2.5 stars and said that it's only fitting that a movie that wants so desperately to be Fast Times at Ridgemont High should also have a soundtrack album that aims at a similar generational success. It's also fitting that like the movie, it mostly fails, although the soundtrack benefits from a few winning tracks, such as Smash Mouth's charming cover of I Can't Get Enough of You, Baby, Matthew Sweet's Farther Down, as well as the classic Guns N' Roses' Paradise City. So also on the soundtrack, it also has Graduate by Third Eye Blind, Turn It Up by Busta Rhymes. We have Missy Elliott in there, and Parliament with Flashlight, one of my favorite tracks on the soundtrack. And It's Tricky by Run DMC, an absolute classic. Now, on a 2019 podcast, Jennifer Love Hewitt actually revealed that she is developing Can't Hardly Wait 2, and she plans on directing that one herself. So hopefully that one gets made just so we get another soundtrack. Other than that, it's the music from the Can't Hardly Wait soundtrack, May 26, 1998.
Wait, Mandy was not on that soundtrack?
It was not.
Wow.
You know how upset I would have been if I had bought that and there was no Mandy?
The whole movie centers
Yeah.
around that song. Like, what the fuck?
I know. And I heard it's about his dog. Yeah. Yeah, I want to know what this fucking sequel is supposed to be about.
I don't.
What the fuck?
The sequel, she actually said in here that the concept revolves around a reunion of all the original high school gang getting back together. So instead of the last day of school party, it's going to be like their 30th reunion or something.
So it's American Pie reunion.
Right. It's basically be the same movie, but with them older. Melissa Joan Hart's still trying to get everyone to sign the fucking book, you know.
All right, well.
Jason Segel's still going to be drunk on the fucking lawn. It's going to be the same movie over and
Wears
over.
T-shirts sometimes.
Somebody's going to get banged in the bathroom.
Yep.
Weird. All right.
All right. Let's see where we're going to go from here. We going over to Mike now?
It's a toss.
Huh?
Toss to the judge.
Oh, okay. All right, let's toss it over to Chris DeMakes for the ruling on the music round.
Well, you guys at least had a little bit of enthusiasm for part 2. I can hardly wait for that movie. Not much interest here. I really love 5150. OU 812 left me a little flat. And just for the sheer abomination of 1978, the solo David Gilmour record, I'm going to nominate 78 in this round. That's one of the biggest atrocities ever committed to plastic, that record. And it just goes to show you that a band as big as Pink Floyd truly are some of their parts, because that record was pretty much a flop, and it's just not a good record. So for that alone, I'm going to go with 78.
Wow. All right.
All right, Mike, you're up on the board, and that means you have the honors of either going first or deferring for our final 2-point round, the news round.
Well, I might as well go. I'm here, ready. Page is turned. If you read the May 23rd edition of the Daily News, then you remember seeing Berkowitz goes wild in court and the quote, "I'll kill them all" on the front page. The article went on to describe how Son of Sam David Berkowitz went, quote, berserk at his Supreme Court sentencing hearing in Brooklyn yesterday. It was Berkowitz's second outburst of the day. Earlier, he had escaped guards and tried to throw himself from the 7th floor window. The incident left one officer injured and another hospitalized. He also shouted, "Stacy was a whore," in reference to his last victim, and repeated, "I'd kill her again. I'd kill her again." The 44 caliber killer's sentencing was postponed until June 12th, and he went under more psychiatric examinations, but was found fit to stand trial. On June 12th, he was sentenced to serve 25 years per murder in Attica Correctional Facility in upstate New York. He was eligible for parole after 25 years and has been denied each time.
Wow.
So a feel-good story.
Yeah.
Can I jump in here real quick? Sorry,
Sure.
the judge usually doesn't talk right now. I want to start a death metal band with you three guys. You mentioned in the article that Berkowitz goes berserk, so the band's going to be called Berserkowitz. That's all I got.
I love it.
And that was a feel-good story. Thank you very much, Mike.
You're welcome.
Jesus.
All right, Mancrush, what did you bring for the news round?
All right, I don't have any serial killers, but let's go May 22nd of 1988. And you know what? The last several weeks, I've been fortunate enough to have some great news stories. Last week, I had the whole thing with the Sega Saturn debacle at E3. Then 2 weeks ago, I had the X-rated Evil Dead 2 story. And then 3 weeks ago, I had the mysterious ninja guy that died while parachuting with 79 pounds of cocaine strapped to his back. So I feel like if you squint your eyes enough and have a little bit of imagination, this story could almost be like those three stories merged together. It's like, it's a bit Grand Theft Auto, it's a little Skinamax, and it's a lot of drugs. It has to be. All right. So I found this article several times. So I'm just going to cherry pick the best headline of those. And that one would be another ho-hum California Sunday. And I'm going to paraphrase the article here. It's Los Angeles. The incident began at 6 a.m. yesterday morning when Valerie Morales, 27, was walking down the street in Los Angeles, minding her own business and taking in the early morning air when she caused quite the commotion. It seems that Miss Morales was entirely nude, and two motorists were eyeing her instead of the road when they collided. After the collision, Miss Morales decided to lay down in the middle of Glendale Boulevard and Effie Street, right on the crosswalk. When paramedics arrived, at the behest of the drivers, they took care of Miss Morales first. Apparently, she had not been harmed during the collision, and the paramedics loaded her in the back of the ambulance. Once they got over to the drivers from the collision, Miss Morales hopped into the driver's seat of the ambulance and sped off. From there, Miss Morales drove about a mile before heading north on the southbound lanes of the freeway. Driving in the wrong direction, she crashed head-on into a bread truck, slightly injuring the driver, before exiting the ambulance and running off naked down the freeway. A Los Angeles sheriff's deputy, who happened to be transporting a van full of prisoners, captured Miss Morales on the run. Valerie Morales was booked on suspicion. I don't know why it says suspicion. She fucking was. She was booked on suspicion of stealing an ambulance and driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Sadly, I could not find any like follow-up articles to see how this ended. But this one's like fun to play what if with. Was she just high as fuck? Was she on the run from someone? Does she take nude strolls often? Did the evil alien from the Kyle MacLachlan classic, The Hidden, take over her body? Like, I need to know what happened, but I don't. And there was no other follow-up articles. But yeah, nude pedestrian. She went Grand Theft Auto in Los Angeles. I thought it was pretty awesome.
What's it going to take for you guys to find this woman today and have her be the next guest judge? I'm serious.
Dude, like, we had this story back in December. Remember the guy that, this dude, he had gotten arrested. He was in jail. And they put him in a halfway house because he had like, I don't know, like 9 months left of his sentence or whatever. Instead of staying in the halfway house, this was like in Wisconsin, he splits and goes to California. And he's not hiding out though. He's trying to get actor jobs, and he ends up going on. Do you remember he went on The Dating Game and like the fucking the Gong Show or some shit like that? And he got arrested because one of the like prison guards saw him on national television, and then they went and arrested him. And we couldn't find any follow-up stories about that either. And we put in the show notes, like, have you seen this man? Because we were trying to find him, and nothing ever happened. So like, go back to that December episode, people. And if you know who that guy was and he's still alive, have him get in contact with us. We'd love to hear that story. Valerie Morales, if you're listening, we want you on the show so you could tell your side of the story. There's such great news. I love the news round. It's my favorite.
All right, guys. So we'll go to my news story. This is another fun one. This one was in newspapers across the country. This particular article comes from the South Florida Sun Sentinel, May 28th, 1998, where the headline reads, Nurse Ratched inflicts more pain. Louise Fletcher was charged with pinning a police officer between her car and a cruiser. Fletcher, 63, injured an officer Sunday night after he stopped on a road to remove a deer carcass. Authorities says she was charged with reckless driving. Now, the officer, Matthew Bennett, was hit from behind and suffered injuries to both of his legs. Now, Fletcher is best known as Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Now, what happened was the officer had stopped on the side of the road. He was getting a pair of gloves out of his trunk when Fletcher, who was driving a 1998 Buick, struck him from behind and pinned him between the two cars. Bennett had pulled his car off the road, but there wasn't a big shoulder on the side of the road, so it was still kind of over the line. He had his lights on. The siren wasn't on, but the lights were on, and then his tail lights were blinking as well. Now, police estimate that Fletcher was only driving between 20 and 30 miles an hour in the 40-mile-an-hour zone when she struck the police officer. So, yeah, I also did some research on this one. I really couldn't find anything that happened to Miss Fletcher because of this. Now, I did find an update where it was a repost of an article from an IMDb post, so take it for what you will, about a woman who posted saying that she claimed to be the sister of the police officer in question here, Officer Bennett, and that he went through a lot of injuries with this one, had a long 2-year rehab back, supposedly, a lot of physical therapy, and she kind of got a slap on the wrist for this one. So
Where did you find that? In IMDb posts?
yeah, it was okay. Someone had taken a snapshot of an IMDb post from back when they had the comment boards and had posted it to another board. So it's like a third source of a third source. So take it for what you will. But some of the things she stated backed up some of the facts that I read in newspapers, in the newspaper articles. So
she went on and like she went to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and that was the comment she left in there.
Yeah, she was basically ripping on Nurse Ratched here. So,
wow. All right.
But yeah, Nurse Ratched inflicts more pain. So that's what I got. Let's throw it down to our judge, Chris DeMakes, for the ruling on the news round.
Well, show you how sick I am. I thoroughly enjoyed all three of those stories. For a death metal band, Berserkowitz, I could okay that. Probably can't go with 1978 here to give the points. Just that guy murdered someone's family. For a death metal band, it's fine, but I don't know if I can get points to it. I don't even know how that reasoning kind of plays out. But I think here that I really have to go because I really want to meet this woman. I'm fascinated where Valerie Morales is today, if she's still alive, because it sounds like she was on a tremendous amount of drugs when that whole thing was happening. But if she is out there and you guys do find her, and I'm going to actually look for her myself too. But
would you write a song about her?
Absolutely. Yeah. But it'd have to be present day, it'd be, it kind of do the original story to present day. But if she's alive and she's out there and you guys find her or I find her, if you guys find her, let me know. I'd like to know the follow-up. So I'm going with 1988, Valerie Morales.
If we find her, we'll have you on the episode and we'll all sit here and not say anything and just let you speak to her. It'll be like really weird. Yeah. We'll just stare at her. And she'll be like, well, why were you nude? Well, it was hot.
Now, what are your guys' best guess onto what happened? Me, personally, I think it was bees.
Actually, I've been giving this a lot of thought. I think what happened was she spent 72 straight hours watching the Osmond Brothers special.
Yeah. Oh, that'll do it every time.
If I can chime in for a minute, I think... I'm chiming in because I haven't said anything in a while, and I'm pretty upset about it. This woman, she thought she was doing a Thelma and Louise into a canyon, but it was actually just a ditch, and she's still just sitting there leaning into the ditch.
Now, everybody watching this video or in the chat watching the live stream, down in the comments, let us know what you think is responsible for this, because there's so many different ways this could go.
I'm sticking with the. Have you ever seen The Hidden? I think it's The Hidden. It's like it sounds exactly like it.
It could be.
If they would have added that she was listening to heavy metal while she was speeding away in the ambulance, it's a slam dunk.
She was what 22 and 88?
27.
27. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So 57. She'd be about 61 now.
Probably still naked. Still naked.
Still watching the Osmonds.
Yeah.
I can't get over Berserkowitz.
Yeah.
The first track has to be, or either the first track or the name of the album has to be Valerie Morales.
Yeah. Yeah. And the front cover is just an ambulance. No explanation.
Oh man, I love it. Sign me up for that shit. Wait, did I win that one? Should we throw out our wild cards anyway?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, mine's short, so I want to throw this one out because it's one of my favorite movies. But I didn't select it because I wanted to win the movies round, and obviously Chris hated Rambo 3, so that didn't work out. So let's see what happens with this one right here. Not that it matters, but May 27th, 1988. This movie right here, it's awesome. Like if you're in the mood for the circus, ice cream trucks, spooky clowns, aliens, popcorn bazookas, laser pistols, gelatinous cotton candy cocoons, crazy straws, fun houses, pranksters, exploding noses, fireworks, the Terenzi brothers, go out and grab yourself a copy of Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Ah.
Wow.
And I was torn. I was like, do I do it or Stallone? Yeah.
Well, my pick for the wild card round would have been Justice Cherry, And I'm sure since you liked all the other downer, horrible stories, Chris, you might have been into this one. May 27th, 1998. I have Murder and Suicide of Mr. Phil Hartman by his wife.
Oh,
Wow.
So, yeah, she had shot him in the head, chest, and neck, and then called some friends and locked herself in a bedroom. And once the police arrived, she took her own life. So, yeah, I went dark for the wild card round.
yeah. Way to end on a down note. Mike, what was yours? Hopefully it's not like that.
Well, no, I went with a movie. Was released on May 26, 1978. Was a Bad News Bears ripoff called Here Comes the Tigers. Film had a G rating, 87-minute runtime, estimated budget of $250,000, shot over 3 weeks. The plot of the film is a wild team of misfits think they can make it big. What's a coach to do with a chronic nose picker, a flatulent fielder, an out-of-control pitcher, a juvenile delinquent, and the prettiest girl in the state? Turn this bunch of losers into a winning team. The movie was directed by Sean S. Cunningham, director and co-creator of Friday the 13th, also directed Spring Break, The New Kids, and Deep Star 6, as well as wrote and produced a few films of note. Another film that I actually happen to have a copy of.
Wow.
That's a straight ripoff. That's like not even trying.
I mean, it's really just like, we don't care.
No.
And the quality is about as good as Bad News Bears Go to Japan. So,
well, I had Spring Break as a pick in a previous episode, and that one's just a blatant rip-off of a bunch of other movies, too. So,
sadly, that one had a murder or missing person attached to it.
That's right. Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy. There's always like these little tidbits that come out of this. But Chris, since you're on here, I have to ask you, and you have this new book coming out, Blast from the Past, and I have a feeling that you might be able to answer this question, because for years we've asked many musicians this, and we're always met with very vanilla answers. And I don't think you'll give us that, especially since we're new bandmates in Berserkowitz. Give us a crazy story from the road, from like touring. Tell us some shit that happened that people don't know about.
Oh, wow.
He's going through the Rolodex.
I went to Fat Mike from NoFX. In 2009, he had rented out a dominatrix club. Like, I think he spent like probably, I don't know, 20 grand to rent this place out. And a bunch of us went there. And from band guys, a couple guys from Sum 41 were there. A couple guys from Bad Religion were there. NoFX, my band. And yeah. Are
you like leading towards a pony show? Like, where are we going?
Basically, I didn't realize that upon entry that you're because it was, I guess, private. I don't know. That all of our clothes had to be removed. So I'm standing at the bar drinking with Steve-O, the drummer from Sum 41, like not even socks on. We're completely naked, just drinking like it's fucking normal. While people are getting their ass whipped over here, and there's like Japanese go-go dancers over here. So that was one of the strangest fucking nights I've ever had in my life, and I've never told anybody that story.
Wait, do you remember what you were drinking though?
Probably something fruity like a Mai Tai or something. I really don't remember.
How did you tip the bartender?
Which time?
That was the other thing. It was and this is a strange word to use with this. It was all inclusive. So there was no tipping. There was no exchange of cash. Mike had paid for everything.
That is fucking wild. That makes up for everybody's vanilla story that they've come with. Like,
Totally.
We've asked other bands who were like, oh, this for sure they're gonna have like a fucked up story.
Yeah,
and
you know,
like,
and
nah.
here's a bunch of guys in bands that you like, I don't know, like we're naked, like standing there hanging out, talking to each other, drinking, when like, yeah, there's go-go dancers and stuff around, but there was really no women, and there was just a bunch of band dudes rented this place out, and they had like the local staff. Like
It was
like
ladies' night on the group chat.
yeah. Free Mai Tais for everyone.
So are the pictures from that going to be in your book?
No, there. Luckily, there's. I think there are only pictures that exist from that are from our sax player. He has some pictures of himself getting whipped and wax getting poured on his nipples. But yeah.
Oh, it's like Christmas at my house. Can you talk about Blast from the Past a little bit? Tell
Absolutely.
people what's going on with that.
Yeah, so I released my first ever book this past December of 2020. It's called Blast from the Past. You can go to chrisdemakes.com. And it's an 18-month book campaign. Every 3 months, I release a 7-inch record with 2 songs on it and some merch items, limited edition exclusive merchandise items. The new 7-inch is out now with Never Surrender, as you mentioned. The flip side of that is Father Time. That single's getting released on June 9th, so very soon, the second single. And then, about 4 months from now, another record will drop. Basically, the last 7-inch is going to come out around February of 2022, and that'll be the fifth one times 2 songs. It'll be 10 songs, and I'm holding 2 songs over. So around May or June of 2022, I'm going to tack the last 2 on and do a full-length album called Blast from the Past. So it was just the idea was to every couple months, new items to push the book, and it's a picture book. So basically, it's over 365 pictures from my travels with Less Than Jake over the years, and every picture has a story attached to it. So
sweet. That's pretty awesome. So you wrote the book too? You wrote like the stories that go along with it?
Yeah, I basically I did it through Instagram. I woke up one morning, I had moved not too long prior to this, and I was going through photos, and I thought, I took a picture of this or scanned a picture one morning. I threw it on Instagram with a story about it. And I had always wanted to write a book. And about 3 weeks into this, I realized I'm writing my book, one story, one picture at a time. I'm going to do this for 1 year straight. And I did. I on December, so it was December 5th of 2018. I wrapped up December 4th of 2019 with the final entry on Instagram. So then I took all those stories. Of course, I had to then edit the stories because some of them were in present tense on Instagram. I had to kind of there was a lot of editing and retelling of the stories, but pretty much my Instagram posts then were compiled into a book.
That's pretty fucking awesome. And since we're on video right now, do you have any of them that are available? Like any of those pictures that you could just like show up and like tell us a short story from that?
Yeah, I can grab one right now. Let me just go grab the book. 1 second.
Sweet. Check out Chris's calves when he gets up.
It's so creepy that you say that.
He's been working out.
All right, so there's me on the front cover. I don't know if you can see it, but I'm dressed as a truck driver. So basically, I used to take the stage dressed in crazy outfits. Like I'd be Richard Simmons, like, and all the stories are in there of why I did that. It was just basically out of boredom. There I am, right there.
Nice.
Dude, I dig this from one stash to another. I like.
Yeah, I would dress in these crazy characters and. But there's a little bit of everything in here. Like there's this guy. There's another one of my characters. And I would take the stage like that. And so there's stories. And that story right there with that guy I just showed you, it says, somewhere on tour on planet Earth, sometime between 1998 and 2002, Seth Baumeister was one of my go-to characters, one I could always count on in a pinch, a true rock and roll rebel from the heartland of Florida, the kind of guy who would tell you that your girlfriend is cheating on you, but not tell you that it was him. One time I went out dressed as Seth after one of our shows. A few of the guys and myself ended up at some karaoke bar. After a few libations, I got up and absolutely destroyed Highway to Hell by AC/DC. The place went nuts. After I finished belting out the very last scream of the song, I did a mic drop, walked off the stage, and went back to the tour bus for a nightcap. I've never felt so empowered. So just little stories like that all through the book. Just all true stories of what we're going on. I'll read one more here. There's another character there.
Oh man, you look rough in that one.
Yeah.
You look like a bounty hunter or something.
And this one was somewhere backstage on tour in Australia, September 1999. This was a look that came very naturally to me. Growing up in the South, you'd see this guy everywhere. So I decided to take him abroad. The Australians barely batted an eye at this character. I wish I still had those boots. So, but it's a fun read. It was a lot of fun to put together, and that's probably one of my biggest hobbies is reading rock and roll autobiographies and biographies, and I've always wanted to write one. And I put pen to paper, and I probably got, I don't know, a chapter or 2 or 3 into it over the years, and it kind of all started reading like the rest of them, like, hey, I'm Chris DeMakes, I was born in Michigan, I moved to Florida, and just kind of boring. And this was a very unorthodox way to do a book, and there it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna pick that up because that's pretty sweet. Although, and I've said this a million times on the show, like I never have time to read, so I need like somebody to read it to me. So that's why I love Audible. So, but whatever. It's cool because it's got
book,
pictures.
man.
Yeah, it's got
Come
pictures.
on.
I know. I'm like a child.
It's a good toilet read, or some of my friends have told me. So,
Nick, what are you doing in there? I'm reading a book. Shut your mouth. And dude,
Listen
you
to
got
my
this
audio book of the picture book.
I think you have like the coolest last name that goes along with that, with anything. Like, so you got DeMakes a book, but you also have DeMakes a podcast.
Yeah. So I'm just coming up on a year of Chris DeMakes a podcast. It's a songwriting podcast that each week I have a artist come on, and we pick a career defining song that they've released over in their career, and we basically discuss, critique, and analyze the song top to bottom in about 45 minutes. I break it down, and I just get really into it. I get into it so much where the artist is like, they're looking at me like, what? Like, I'm telling them, yeah, like in the second verse, like the guitar is a little louder in the right speaker. And the first verse, it was in the left speaker. Why is that? And they're like, I don't know, but it's been a great journey. We're the listenership's going up every week. We got a Facebook group, Chris DeMakes a Podcast Facebook group. Right now we're over 3,000 members and growing, and it's a great place for everyone to hang out, and I'm loving it. It's great.
And you're talking about the episode that was with Lagwagon, right? With the left and right.
Yeah. So
I
just had Joey from Lagwagon on.
And then you had Roger was on, and you guys talked about your own song.
Yeah.
And I think even then you were like, wait, that's what that was about. Like, you guys were going through the I guess the original lyrics of the song weren't the same way. We're talking about science here. It's amazing how in depth you get on that show. So it's kind of like our buddy Drew Zachman that comes on the show a lot. He's got a show called Songs Gone Wrong, but of course they're not in the band. They're doing it from the outside. You guys are doing it from the inside, and it's so much more in depth when you hear musicians talk about. Because when you guys were talking about like different keys and stuff, I had no idea what you were talking about, but it was super friggin' interesting.
Yeah, and I try my best to keep it in layman's terms. The last thing I want is someone to tune in and go, this seems like it'd be interesting to me, but they lost me in the first minute, So I try to keep it as basic as I can, and I stop short of getting into what guitar and amp did you use on that? Like, you're going to start losing people with gear talk, So I try to keep it as basic as I can, but still do a deep dive into the song and really, and it's just been fantastic. I've really been able to get the human emotion. I think that's why people have gravitated towards the show in terms of, this song. And a lot of guys will just stop and they'll kind of choke up and they're like, all right, so this song's about this. And these are like people that or some of these songs are 15, 20 years old that no one knows the real story, that they've actually given me the scoop on my podcast of what it's about. It's pretty cool.
Are a lot, because we obviously go through music a lot in every single episode, and we go through lyrics. So at least myself, I read what however it's interpreted online. How much do you think is bullshit online, what you read, what a song is about, compared to when you talk to these people and they're like, nah, that's not it?
Probably 85% bullshit. I mean, because music is so subjective. It really is.
Yeah.
What a song means to you may not mean to me, and I think that's the beauty of music. We can all take something different away from it. But yeah, there's all the time I'll be googling songs and like, what is the meaning behind this Pink Floyd song, and you'll like start reading like, is that really it? And this is just some guy that threw something up on the internet. And don't even get me started on lyrics. Like, you go look up lyrics. We think we have it easy now, because back before the internet we didn't know what the lyrics were. It was actually probably better back then, because now people are just butchering them online. So
man, so even the lyrics are incorrect
most of the time. Yeah, I have to really zone in and listen and go line by line and get the lyrics right, because most of the time when you get them off Google, they're wrong.
See, this makes me feel like shit anytime I picked a single and I found like what I thought, what was it about, or like whatever somebody said the interpretation was. now it was probably complete bullshit, and I'm spitting that out. Now somebody's at the bar talking to some chick, and they're like trying to like act smart because I said something to them, and it's completely bullshit. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
First of all, Mancrush.
Sorry to ruin the myth.
First of all, Mancrush, nobody is using knowledge they learned on Dueling Decades at a
course they
bar
are.
to pick up women.
It's like the Spanish fly. I heard one of our listeners told us that. I'm gonna go with that. And as far as like Berserkowitz goes, like what episode are we gonna be on, and are we gonna cover Lisa Morales or like?
I think it's Valerie Morales, but who's counting at this point?
That's her middle name.
Yeah. Is there any serial killer podcasts we could debut our single on?
Oh, are there any?
I'm sure there is, because like there was like that Ted Bundy series that like women were fascinated about, like, which I didn't get that whole thing, but I'm sure there's a podcast.
There's so many true crime podcasts. It's almost like every other podcast is a true crime podcast. Yeah. So like, I think people would be all over that. For real. And one of the other things I heard on your show, if you want to plug this too, you do custom songs for people.
I do, yeah. I do custom songs and jingles. I just did one today for a podcast. So like an intro theme song, a jingle for your business. Aaron from Real Big Fish, he was down in Florida about 6 months ago, and he sent me a video. It's hilarious. I actually put it on my YouTube page. It's him and his wife driving down I-95 in Florida, and he's singing my song. It was for Terra Nova's Pizza Restaurant and Pizzeria. I did the theme song for this pizza place down there, and Aaron knew it was me immediately. Just thought it was hilarious. So custom song for your wedding, your anniversary, for retirement party, graduation. I've done them all. I did a song for some guy that hates his boss, and
nice.
Wanted me to basically tell that's how he was quitting his job, was through this song. He emailed his boss, basically telling his boss to F off. So yeah, it's been really cool. It's been a great way to connect with the fans, and you can check out my stuff on my YouTube page. It's all my custom songs are there, and it's pretty cool.
Sweet. Dude, thank you so much for coming on. Sorry about the technical issues we had. Joe said everything is recorded, so we're just going to release this as a recording because I don't know, did the live completely went down, Joe?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. Every time, like, all my numbers were good, and every time I went to do the live, everything just kind of shut up, and then YouTube was yelling at me saying it wasn't getting the video. So
that's all right. We still have the audio and the video, so we'll release it both ways.
Yeah, it's
right on, guys.
Fine.
But dude, thank you so much, and I'll be looking for the emails from you on when we're gonna rehearse and all that stuff.
Definitely.
Right on, man. You guys were a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Appreciate it.
Yep. Have a great night.
Have a great night, dude.
Bye.
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, give me 1 minute, just because it just skewed all the windows, right?
Oh.
So I have to make you guys pretty again. Well, I guess just Mark.
Yeah, just me. I just gotta do the wrap up.
Yeah. Okay, you're golden. Oh,
all right, Duelers. Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to end this episode right here. But if you've missed an episode, don't worry. You can always head back to our website. That's duelingdecades.com. You can find all the links where you can subscribe on iTunes, on Spotify, everywhere podcasts are available. You can find all of those links right in the show notes for this episode. So until next time, Duelers, we're going to bid you a peace, love, light, and a joy. Have a grateful week, everyone.
Stop recording.